welcome to Nerd TV for another RSR Next Generation Cup Series race. This time, coming at you live from the simulated Kentucky Speedway, where we have 135 laps here this evening with the Next Gen Cup cars. Well on the track, left-hand side of your screen, 76 degrees Fahrenheit, 38% humidity, overcast, 8 miles an hour. That could or could not play a factor on a mile-and-a-half track. We'll see how gripped up these next-gen cars here tonight for 135 laps. My name is Jeremy Stanley, aka Jay Swifty, and to my right-hand side, Jason Rockefeller. Welcome back, man.
Yeah, I'm back better than ever, man. I'm ready here to go to Texas. Oh my gosh, Kentucky Speedway. I mean, you could almost compare the two. They kind of had some iffy racing, but I mean, who knows how this car is going to really be here tonight, Jeremy? I mean, it's going to be interesting. There's Walt. Everybody say hi, Walt. And there he is, supporting the Nerditude colors like always. Jeremy, I see you got a haircut, man. You're looking absolutely fly, man. It looks really good.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. It feels a lot lighter. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, and the thing is too about tonight, and I think it's probably the thing in Jeremy. I talked to you right before the beginning of the broadcast, and I guess we just jump right into it. This is the first time for the RSR series that the next gen car is debuting here at Kentucky. These guys haven't ran here at this track since the Winter Series back in 2021, so we have no idea what to really expect. I mean, practice has given us a great idea of who's going to be fast. Same with qualifying. Ryan Bean, top of the charts in qualifying right now. Nate Campbell, last week's winner from Bristol, and probably what would be the most chaotic race we've ever seen broadcasting together, or mainly just in RSR in general. Won that race 1 week ago at Bristol. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm really interested to see how this next-gen car is going to handle here with all the updates from 2022 now on here to 2024.
Yeah, you can compare this like Texas. You have a mile of track to the outside that nobody's going to use tonight. It's all going to be bottom feeding. Maybe the second lane kicks in a little bit on the late run, but typically you're going to find these guys stuck to that white and yellow. I think it's all yellow line across the whole entire bottom of the track, but not going to be too much on the top. So don't expect a lot of movement from these cars here tonight, at least from my playbook. Dustin, to my left-hand side, how's it going over there for a Tuesday evening?
It's going pretty well for a Tuesday evening. Kind of excited, like Jason touched base on, was first time these cars have actually hit this track. So kind of excited to see what it's going to produce and how the racing's going to be. Kentucky in the past has usually posted some pretty decent racing. So with the addition of these, I mean, can we really call them next gen cars now? It's the current gen, so we're just going to call them the Cup cars.
That's true.
With the Cup cars here. Definitely looking forward to a good race, see what these RSR boys can do.
Yeah, I guess the next gen has such a nice ring to it, but I guess if you have the next gen after this one, what do you call that, right? The next gen. So I guess I'll go on your boat there, and
The next after
uh,
next.
the next after next. I don't know if there's anything other than the next gen, so we'll leave that for the eighth generation or ninth, whatever the number they're on. But we got about a minute and a half left in qualifying. Jason, we got 22 times posted so far out of the 29 entries. Um, and these practice times are pretty tight niched up there in the top 5 to 10, and then it really groups up there about 10 through 20. There should be a lot of good action. I expect mid-pack here tonight.
Yeah, Ryan Bean right now has the pole currently with a 30.225 with just under a minute to go now here in qualifying. And then everybody else on back, it doesn't really get to over, I'd say, about a tenth until you get back to Nate Campbell in seventh, who ran a 30.309. Michael Sheffield ran a 30.362 there in eighth. But, I mean, everybody's only off by about a tenth or two, man. It's really tight here tonight. Again, we don't really know what to expect. Maybe Jeff Chandler, who sits second on the board right now, maybe he's got something in store for these guys. Could he possibly pick up, which I believe would be his first RSR victory? You got Brandon Gagnon up there. John Vlasity. Remember how good John Vlasity was last week at Bristol, man? He could have won the damn thing nearly, but unfortunately things didn't go his way. There was a lot of mistakes last week at Bristol that made it such a chaotic and interesting race. And all those drivers here tonight that had those incidents or had those miscommunications, mistakes, whatever you may call them, they're looking to rebound and bounce back here tonight.
That caution messed up so many drivers last week, and they are trying to rebound on the point situation to regroup from that loss there. And Qualifying's over. Dustin's waving his fingers out, so we're going to get our cameras off your guys' screen. And it is race time here as these guys starting to grid up for the order of the 213 Simware 200 at the simulated Kentucky Speedway. And it looks like a decent amount of drivers are gridded up. And I love the staggered pit road. I wish every track would have this. But here we go. Ryan Bean going to be P1 taking the pole tonight. Jeff Chandler, second place, 2 is outside. Row number 2, find the number 23 Harold Watkins, and then the 83 to the outside. Fourth place, Brandon Gagnon. Fifth place will be John Vlasti, trying to do another solid top 10 run here tonight. And then Bob Fitzpatrick Jr. will start in 6th. Seventh place will be Nathan Campbell. 8th place will be the number 1 of Michael Sheffield. 9th place, number 2 is Zach Strenthenall. And the 10th place starting car, number 19, Richie Coy.
Top 20, back in row number 6, you'll find Michael Carter and Robert Fitzpatrick Sr. in the number 12 machine. Row 7 is brought to you by Adam Boughton and Kevin Ruff in the number 99 machine. Row 8, you'll find Matt Hayden, who had a runner-up finish 1 week ago at Bristol, along with Kevin Zabaldil in the number 17. Row 9, James Catrone, Anthony Ludi, who led some laps at Bristol's last week. We'll see what he can do in the number 88 machine tonight. And Jeremy, rounding out your top 20, row number 10, Jimmy Fitzmaurice in the number 33, and Brian Fine, who had a podium finish in 3rd 1 week ago from Bristol.
21st, number 77, Aaron Spear. 22nd will be Andrew Little. 23rd, Alexander Hodge. 24th place, Stephen Rasick. 25th place in the 94, Steve Potter. 26th, Jerry Culver. 27th, Kent Mueller. 28th in your last qualifying time to post, the number 54 of Anthony Younes. Then the last 2 cars sorted by iRating. 29th and 30th will be Rusty Modesty and Dwayne Furtick. And so 30 total entries for this Kentucky race presented by 213 Simware. And I am curious to see how this is going to go. You mentioned earlier in the pre-race, this is the inaugural race with the next-gen cars at RSR. So we have no idea. We know the mile-and-a-half packages. We know the teams to watch. But it's a different surface for these guys. And I'm quite curious to see how this race is going to go.
It's going to be really interesting to see here tonight. I have a couple guys, obviously, to watch for, and that would be Nate Campbell, who was obviously the Bristol winner, 7th here in 2021. Ryan Bean, great run at Bristol, and despite the penalty, led 46 laps, finished 2nd here after leading 49 laps back in 2021. You have Michael Sheffield, finished 4th here in 2021. He led 1 single lap. Harold Watkins got 11th last week at Bristol after leading 35 laps. He finished 6th here back in 2021. Brock Potter finished 8th in the 2021 race. Justin Henry finished 8th at Bristol and 9th in 2021 just a few years ago. And Brian Fine, 3rd at Bristol after leading a lap, and he finished in the top 10 in 2021. So real unpredictable. We're going to have to see who's the best of the best here in the Bluegrass State here tonight.
Absolutely. Michelle Rittberry saying, let's go Kevin Lee Ruff. And then on the YouTube side, I see JK saying Hodge with a bunch of exclamation points. Cheerleaders are out, ready for the drivers to see what they can do. For 135 laps, green flag is out. The 213 Simware 200 is underway.
Great start for Ryan Bean in the 28 machine. Gets shot out of a cannon. He's got his teammate Harold Watkins right back behind him in the 23 machine. They all file out down into turn number 1. We've seen a lot of chaos here at this racetrack going through the corners. Lots of drivers with the aerodynamic package back in the Gen 6 era and also the Xfinity series. Even the trucks get really loose through the center of the corner when riding on the bottom side when you're packed up against somebody's door. And they end up going around, so we're going to have to see, Jeremy, if that's a problem here tonight.
Turns 3 and 4 looked really spaced out. The 3rd lane was already being used. That kind of took me by surprise here as we go through turn number 1 on lap number 2. Look back there, that red and white car. No number on the door. Sorry, I can't do an instant reference for you. But he is really far out there in turn 1 and 2. The old surface at Kentucky on iRacing had a little grip lane all the way against the wall. Not here tonight, but this is Robert Fitzpatrick Sr. Thank you, Dustin, for that cue. Running really high up there. As we got 3 wide on the front straightaway. Bob Fitzpatrick in the middle with Brandon Gagnon and Zach Strenthenall. And they broke it down to 2 wide entering 1.
Yeah, there was a lot of guys there going about 2 and 3 wide for a moment. You just saw Kevin Ruff, Fitzpatrick, and Zabaldil there nearly go about 3 wide down the front straightaway, and they almost thought about it one more time there heading down the back straightaway. They head into turn number 3 this time. the 99 of Ruff. He'll get to the outside of Catrone. Excuse me, that was who actually was involved in that 3-wide situation instead of Kevin Zabledil just one lap ago. But they're all able to keep it going double wide with Catrone and Fitzpatrick as they head into turn number 1. Pretty racy so far here early on the start, Jeremy. Nobody really kind of single filed out. Still a lot of great racing. As obviously they're going to go 3 wide here down the back straightaway. Here comes Kevin Ruff to the inside. He might get a little bit loose. Nearly slides up into James Catrone through the center of 3 and 4, but they keep it going here as they hit the start-finish line this time.
Strong move on the back straightaway to get to the inside. Had to really choke up there on corner entry. And James Catrone kept Kevin at bay there on the inside. Now through 1 and 2, it looks like he has the opportunity to clear. A little bit of a run from the 38, but not enough. Goes back down for a crossover attempt. Drives it deep into turn number 3. Gets to the left rear fender there of the 99. And as they go through 3 and 4, not a match there. Kevin's going to take that position. And also see real quick on the YouTube, Thomas Pope early in the chat saying, let's go, Brandon. Number 83 is due. As absolutely correct. It's been a while. He needs to get up there and find himself a W from Nerd TV. And then Thomas S. thinks Bean's going to have to bounce back from last week's race. He's looking to do that. He had that penalty, and early on, he's leading this race.
Yeah, and that was such an interesting penalty for him last time around. Also, quick thing, or not last time around, but rather last week, quick thing to note, fastest lap of the race was just turned 1 lap ago now by Kevin Ruff with a 30.382 last time by at the line. Now it's turned by Matt Hayden with a 30.314 there in the 12th position. So everybody seems to be getting faster, even with 7, almost 8 laps on these tires. It just goes to show you that drivers are getting more and more comfortable with their race cars, Jeremy, and the way that they're handling with the setup, the tires, whatever it may be. But again, back to Ryan Bean, he needs a great rebound. And I know that this season has been dominated by Stealth Motorsports. It was Nate Campbell, Ryan Bean, then Nate Campbell so far this season. So, I mean, if you're trying to rebound for Ryan Bean, you just really got to make sure you don't make the mistakes like you did it last week at Bristol. I know these are 2 totally different racetracks, polar opposites, night and day, but obviously there's still an opportunity for some kind of mistake here tonight. Ryan Bean has got to do everything but that.
Robert Fitzpatrick there through 3 and 4 almost made a mistake and had to check up big for the number 38, James Catrone, to his outside. He's going to lose 4 car lengths down the front straightaway. Heads into turn number 1 with traffic right behind him. Brian Fine to the inside. 17, Kevin Zabledil is going to run the 3rd and 4th groove. Somehow these guys have found grip here. This is fixed up the first time we've seen them, so I'm not used to seeing a lot of guys move to the 3rd and 4th lane early, but they are searching. They have some speed no matter where. And so 17, 57 get really close to each other through 3 and 4. Back to the front straightaway. Those 2 remain side by side.
Yeah, great side-by-side action here for the 57 Fine Beard Machine, and then the 17 of Kevin Zabledil up at the top of the racetrack. They go side-by-side once again, going into turn 1 and 2, and the 57 is going to slide up, contact made off turn number 2. And Jeremy, that's the thing here with Kentucky Speedways. When you come off turn number 2, you could feel like you're really gripped up there on the bottom side, and when you're trying to come back up to the wall, it's not like the wall just jumps out, but all of a sudden your car on exit of turn 2 just can get really, really tight when you're packed up on with the air on somebody's door. So you got to be really mindful and careful of that here tonight, because I'm sure that's not the last time we're going to see a near incident.
100%, and some good respect there from the 17 of Zabledil. He was on the outside when the 57-17 made the contact, and Kevin came on the radio and said he was sorry. He thought maybe he pinched off Brian in the corner exit, but that was not the case. It was just some good racing. I'm noticing here on this podium, we got some early movers and not so good way. Brandon Gagnon, the 83, started 4th all the way back to 11th through the first 12 laps in this race. And then Michael Sheffield on the number 1, 8th to 14th. So a couple of guys moving quickly to the back.
Yeah, you see Zach Schrenthal on that number 2 machine just got past John Velocity. And remember, Zach Schrenthal, one of those drivers last week, Jeremy, at Bristol that had a mishap. I believe it was him with Nate Campbell down the back straightaway on a late race restart with 2 laps to go. Nate Campbell accidentally got into the right rear of the number 2 machine and then obviously took him out of contention, but he was able to bounce back for a solid finish despite having a few laps remaining in that race. So obviously, a few drivers who want to have great nights tonight. We talked about Ryan Bean. We just mentioned Zach Frentenall. But if you think about it, Michael Carter, Richie Coy, Harold Watkins, just to name a few that want to have great nights. Richie Coy got nabbed on pit road last week for an incident. Then you go to obviously Ryan Bean. He had a restart violation, I believe it was. And then Harold Watkins just really, really strong, and then obviously fell way to the back of the field. There's a few drivers out here, Jeremy, that want to have that redemption arc coming from Bristol last week.
100% for sure. And then Cabin Ruff, and we see Michelle Rittenberry back on the Facebook chat saying, great job, Cabin, fast car tonight. Slowly but surely, he's looking like the long run's going to be that 99's gain. He's only picked up one spot from the green flag. That car looks pretty racy, and I expect him to move up as these green flag laps continue to tick down. And then Doyle Lawrence, late back from work, saying, hello, Nerds crew. How's it going, man? Let's go, Jeff Chandler. Well, he's got a pretty strong chance tonight. Started second, P4 now. Just kind of feeling out them tires, but you got about 40 to 45 laps. I do believe Jason on the notes for the fuel, correct?
To 45 laps here on a tank of fuel, and remember, these guys only run 70% fuel load in these races, so they can go a little bit less than what a normal tank of fuel would go here for the Gen 7 cars. I mean, when you're looking at about 100% fuel load, you're typically looking at about 55, maybe 65 laps of fuel. Here, they can only go about 40 to 45 with that 70% fuel load. So definitely going to be an interesting thing. And the thing when it comes to Kentucky, Jeremy, is, listen to me, we're all going to be probably pretty honest with each other. Kentucky is a very tough racetrack, very hard to pass, doesn't produce the most exciting product out on the racetrack. But the thing that you got to stick around for that can make Kentucky so interesting, and we saw it last year with some races that we broadcasted. I saw some on LSR TV as well. Pit strategy. You think back to the awesome battle back in 2016 it was between Carl Edwards and Brad Keselowski. And Brad was just able to save enough fuel to hold off Carl Edwards right at the end of that one. And then obviously in the sim world, it can be the exact same way. Drivers are going to try the undercut. They'll try the overcut. They're going to try to throw everything in the pits except probably the kitchen sink. So you're going to have to see how this race plays out. And I guarantee you, Jeremy, about 95% of this race is going to be based on strategy.
That's absolutely true. And we're going to shout out RSR Next Gen Cup Series sponsor, BestOne Tire and Service, the presenting sponsor for every single Tuesday night in these Cup Series races. So if you're looking for a one-stop automotive repair and tire shop, BestOne Tire and Service helps you get the new tires, tire repairs, and auto service you need from the people you can trust. Check out where they're nearest located to you by visiting bestonetire.com.
And be doing a really good job here, Jeremy, so far. About a second and a quarter over his teammate Harold Watkins in the 23 machine, but there's still a lot of great battles going throughout this entire field. You see Cabin Ruff, he's side by side right now with the Nerditudes machine of Michael Sheffield in that one car. And great drive for him so far in the 99 machine. He had some bad luck last week at Bristol. And then obviously Michael Sheffield, one of the drivers who has some experience here from the last race at Kentucky back in 2021. Now, yes, it was with the Gen 6 car, but you still can kind of drive it nearly the same. Obviously finished fourth back then, leading one single lap. So expecting him to possibly make his way up to the front. But again, brand new car, debut for the Gen 7 car here tonight for RSR. Still don't know what to expect. But if it's anything like we saw at Las Vegas, based on the mile-and-a-half status, you could almost imagine that you know, these stealth motorsport guys are going to be really strong like they already are.
Remember, they want to sweep the entire year, and so far they are on pace to do so, and they hold for the top 5 spot currently through lap 20 here out of schedule. 135 laps here this evening. Ryan Bean right there, your race leader's got a staggering 1.2 second lead over teammate 23 Harold Watkins, who those two continue to be the two fastest guys week in and week out. And then you got a close third there from the 45 Nathan Campbell. Really good strong run last year, looking to do the same thing this year with some new colors. And look at this lead. There's a lot of space between each of these cars, and here we go. Now we get to Jeff Chandler, who's currently running fourth. in front of Zach Strenthal, and we got a little 4-car race that's for 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th.
A great battle here going on, obviously, for 4th, 5th, and 7th, 6th as well. Like you had mentioned, Jeremy, that's the 31 machine of Jeff Chandler trying to hold off Zach Strenthal, who is still making his way up into this top 5. Already gained 4 spots from where he started. The same can be said for Nathan Campbell. Up 4 spots. He's sitting there in 3rd. Jeff Chandler started in 2nd. He is back to 4th. So it looks like the handling on his race car could be going away here on this medium to long run portion here of this first run of the night. And then obviously Adam Boughton still moving up through this field as well. Alexander Hodge. Adams moved up 6 spots there. He resides in the 7th spot. Alexander Hodge currently 13, up 10 spots. Only driver to be up in the double digits. The only one who is near him so far is Kent Mueller in the 26th into the 20th spot. He is up 7 spots from where he started, along with Anthony Yuns in the 54, who sits back in 21st, 22nd position. But Jeremy, despite Kentucky Speedway really being kind of a bottom-feeded racetrack, we've seen a lot of great battles throughout the entire night. And, I mean, look at how close the competition is. It's not really that, spread out so far. I'm sure once we have green flag pit stops, it will get spread out, but still really stout competition here tonight for these guys.
Yeah, and they come in packs, too. They're not all grouped together, but there is a lot of 2-car packs, 3, 4-car packs there. That's not really damage on the side of the 3. You just kind of got up next to the wall, and iRacing throws the smoke out there when you get close. And so you'll see that quite common throughout this entire race. But here's another set of 4 cars on your screen, led by the 19 of Richie Coy here, who's currently in P8, so 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th. And then you got 4 more catching them, and then 3 more. So they're spaced out as you see the iRacing iFlag track map on your top left-hand side of your screen. They're all within a half a track of each other, but they're all little groups of 3s and 4s here for the most part.
All really just little groups. You see them, Jeremy, there on the iRacing iFlag track map. Everybody just doing a great job. There's, like we talked about, great battles throughout the entire field. And a great battle that's really shaping up here at Jeremy is the battle for the race lead. Harold Watkins has been just running just about the same lap time, if not a little bit faster than his teammate Ryan Bean. The gap was about 1.5. It's about 1.1 now. And then Nate Campbell right back behind him, only back from Harold Watkins by about 4 or 5 tenths of a second. So you could say they're only separated by 2 seconds in total from Bean all the way back to Nate Campbell. So, I mean, who knows? Which one of these guys is going to have the long-run car within this span from lap 30 to about 40 before green flag pit stops happen? That's going to be the question that I'm asking myself and everybody else, along with you and Dustin up here in the booth, Jeremy. And then, with the green flag pit stops coming, it's going to shake up this race big time here. And that's if we see the green flag pit stops, which I'm anticipating we will, because strategy is going to play a big part in this race, like we mentioned earlier.
And those green flag stops will be happening anywhere between 10 and 15 laps from now. Whenever the first guy decides to dip his toes on the pit road, you're going to see everybody else follow suit as you're looking on the 19, 15, and number 3 and your camera at this time. Quick shout out to Waterford Concepts LLC. Waterford Concepts is a leader in engineering, 3D printing, 3D scanning, and composite manufacturing, focused primarily on automotive, RC, and motorsport. Waterford Concepts is your shop to make ideas a reality. Visit them on Facebook at facebook.com/Waterford Concepts.
I want to see real quick if we can go back to this pack here, Dustin, with Richie Coy leading it. That is a huge gaggle of, I almost said trucks, a huge gaggle of cars right here. All the way from Richie Coy in 7th back to Michael Sheffield in 15th. So that's about 7, 8 cars under a blanket right now battling. I mean, look at this. They're almost packed up. It kind of looks like what we saw, Jeremy, probably I'd say for some truck racing. Remember back earlier in the year, whether it be the Global Racing Truck League or obviously anything else that we pretty much saw. You saw trucks at Las Vegas be really grouped up, utilizing this draft in a big way. But it was a multi-groove racetrack. This one, you want to really just be on the bottom side, but the outside could still have that momentum off the corner. Look at this great battle going on with all of them. You see the 3 machine there gets sliding up the racetrack, nearly gets into the 8 of Michael Carter, right up ahead of the Matt Hayden, Kevin Zabaldil. They remain side by side. They're 2 by 2 by 2 right now into 1.
This is some great racing here. You said this track doesn't produce some action, but RSR They said, you know, we're going to flip your script over and we're going to do everything we can as Michael Carter gets really tight off of turn 2, has to back it way down, loses 2 spots, and then about 2 or 3 car lengths on top of that. Going back to turn 3 for a reset. Brandon's going to make the pass happen on the inside of the number 3 of Bob Fitzpatrick, which Brandon Gagnon is starting to reel him back in. I think he's playing the long game, but I think he waited too long. Started 4th, dropped all the way back to the lowest point of 17th place. Last time by, Brandon's back to P11, so he's reeling him back in. But was it too little, too late? But this is what's good for this first run, Jason. Do it now, figure out what you need to do, get ready for the second round of Green Flag Run.
Yeah, he's got a really good car, Jeremy, because that 83 machine was very fast in practice, was running top 5, top 10 speeds, and then obviously qualified very, very well. But drop back, like you had mentioned, as you see him head down to turn number 1, he'll complete another pass on the number 5 machine of Matt Hayden, last week's runner-up at Bristol, to Nate Campbell, and then Brian Fine, P3. Doing a great job in this 83 machine. I know that he probably is in a position where he's a little bit frustrated considering the fact that he knows he probably has the speed to mix it up with the Stealth Motorsport guys up at the front of this field that hold the top 3 podium positions. I can only imagine Brandon Gagnon's going to get faster and faster and more comfortable with that race car here as this race progresses on.
Yeah, I would agree as well here. Focusing on the number 2, Zach Strenthal. This is for 6th place. Richie Coy looking back to the inside. The number 2 and the number 19 have been nose to tail here for basically the entire race, as the 19 is going to go back to looking for another pass. Has to choke up on center corner, but I still think he's going to have enough here with this sweeping front straightaway. Clears the number 2 of Strenthal, and they go back to single file crossing the line this time to complete lap number 35.
Look at how crazy the draft is, though. Going into turn 1, Zach Strenthal lost that position, was about 3 or 4 car lengths back from Richie Coy. By the time they went to turn 1, he was only about a car length or so back. Only had to lift, so that's why he's back where he is right now. But look at the draft wake, and it's a big part here of Kentucky Speedway. And like most mile and a halves here with the Gen 7 car, just compared to the Gen 6 car, the draft wake is a huge factor. And I feel like the suck-up with these cars, Jeremy, is way bigger than what it was with the Gen 6 era. Now, yes, we know they ran the low downforce, high horsepower type package in the Gen 6 at the mile and a half, but with this next gen car, and with the way that the front of the nose is not only shaped, but also the way that the airflow moves through the car, it's almost like it just can create this kind of suck-up motion to the back end of these cars in front of them so quickly down the straightaways. And it's important to have clean air here, but if you're second in line, third in line, you have that draft wake, you still have a pretty good chance. You just kind of have to work around the lines and try to obviously get past your opponent in front of you.
Yeah, 1,000% there. I'm going to turn our attention to pit road. I just saw Bob Fitzpatrick last lap, and then now 99 Kevin Lee Ruff makes his way down pit road. A little bit shorter than what was advertised to you, Jason, for the fuel window. Looks like these guys are going to shortcut that a little bit. 2 cars have made their green flag stops. Everybody else is still on track.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, Jeremy, when you look at the time, they're going to try to undercut this right here, get some track position, maybe hope for a caution, or see how the race progresses out, depending on what their mindset is. When you look at Ryan Bean's fastest lap, or actually, for example, let's take a look here at Matt Hayden's lap time, actually, because he's the one who still holds that fastest lap in the race with a 30.314. That was around lap number 7, from what I recall. His last time around the racetrack, 32.106, so nearly 2 seconds of fall off here within the first 40 laps. You see some more drivers coming to pit road. Here comes Alexander Hodge. He's the 3rd driver to come to pit road. Now this is probably going to open up the door. We talked about the pit road fuel window looking like it was going to be 40 to 45 laps. Some drivers might try to save it, whether it be shutting the car off going into the corners, maybe doing a little bit of clutch motion with these cars as well. We don't know, but definitely the strategy is going to play a factor here. And when you have those forward fresh Goodyear Eagles on these race cars here, Jeremy, it is going to make you have significant speed in the short run.
I'm going to take my quick moment. Dustin, I know you're back there. Can you go back to Alexander Hodge real quick? Remember our conversation last week of how we got to fix that double nap template? Look how clean this new car is. I am glad I can be motivation for these teams out here. And very clean looking number 11 Mobile One Toyota
Beautiful.
Camry. It is a very beautiful car. Gets the job done very well. Great logo placement. I love the Mobile One tech in there right behind the front tire. Just great stuff there from Alexander Hodges' team.
It looks really good. Honestly, Jeremy, it kind of reminds me back with the Mobile One days with obviously the Mobile One horse of Jeremy Mayfield or Ryan Newman's early runs at Penske in the early 2000s. That's what the kind of vibes I'm getting from that race car. Or you could even really argue and say it gives a little bit of that new Christopher Bell S-type Mobile One car. And remember, he brought that thing to victory lane just a few weeks ago. So been really interesting to see this number 11 machine, what he's been able to do this season. I'm sure he's going to try to do his best here tonight, like we've talked about. Some other drivers on pit road. Here's the 83 machine, Brandon Gagnon. Michael Sheffield, one of the drivers who finished well in the 2021 race. He brings the Nerditudes machine down pit lane this time by with the Camaro ZL1 to come to the attention of his pit crew. And like we talked about, the door pretty much wide open now at this point here.
Yep, so both nerd drivers there on pit road at the same time. I hear the 88, Mr. Anthony Ludi's coming down. Anthony Younes in the 54. Ryan Bean, your race leader, also coming down. This is on lap 43 and 44. So this is the tail end of that field window that was advertised to us earlier. And pit road is getting busy.
Yeah, and it's getting busy. Here we go. Ryan Bean, obviously, on pit road. Like we mentioned, Anthony Ludi, James Catrone, Anthony Younes coming to pit road this time by. And like we talked about that door being wide open, I can only imagine how many drivers are going to come down pit road this time by. The question's going to be is when everybody comes down pit road and when this cycle of green flag pit stops ends, where is everybody going to be? Here comes Watkins, Campbell, Chandler, Zach Schrentenall right in line behind them. Here comes Michael Carter in the Barks Root Beer Chevy Camaro, this time entering pit road. Everybody saw those drivers who were towards the top 10 range of the field, and they all took advantage trying to come to pit road to make sure they weren't going to undercut them too much.
Yeah, and everybody has had a solid pit entrance. I didn't see a single tire lockup. Everyone had right on the money on their pit boxes, and here comes the 19, the 10, the 17. As I say, everyone had a clean entrance. 17 wanted this, just give me a little wiggle there on entry. As he's going to be side by side, which I don't know if the rule is to keep it single file on entry, but here we go. We see more coming down here. The 16, the 68, and a whole bunch of others here.
Yeah, lots of drivers on pit road this time. Coy, Boughton, Zabadil, Little, Fitzmaurice, Modesty, Mueller, Fine, Potter, Fitzpatrick Sr. also involved in coming to pit road. So this is probably more than likely going to end the green flag pit cycle here. Once Aaron Spear and Stephen Racek come to pit road, they're going to pick up the race lead right here as John Velocity makes his way to pit road in the number 15 machine. There's the second place driver of Spear. Looks like he's going to be coming this pit road this time by. Nearly got nailed from behind from Stephen Racek in the 21 machine. Or no, that was not Stephen Racek. That was Jerry Culver. And obviously here comes Stephen Racek to pit road. So Jeremy, green flag cycle is going to be complete here. Ryan Bean is going to have the race lead, it looks like.
A little contact from the number 15 and 57 on pit entrance and exit here. As the 57, Brian Fine leaving his stall. I don't think there's any significant damage, but they did make contact as he was pulling away from his pit stall. You see the 15 here, Vlasty, exiting pit road. And we're going to take a look at this track map after everyone's completed with their cycle. So I want to see how much more it's spaced out. We were just around maybe a half a track, if not a little bit more, covered with cars, and the other half was completely bare. Well, there's your track map, and everybody is really spaced out here. Very typical green flag pit stop cycle here at Kentucky.
Yeah, this is just how it was going to be, obviously. The starts, or if the restarts, whatever comes about in this race, everybody's going to be really tightly packed up together. Oh, and here we go, right at the end of the green flag cycle. Caution is out. Kevin Zabadil, I believe, goes around in turn number 1. Maybe some other drivers involved, but you can see the track map there. He is pretty much stopped, I believe, heading into turn number 1. We're going to take a look and see what happened. Oh!
Just one of those coming down, coming up type situations, back half of the tri-oval. I have seen this so often in my sim racing career where you don't know. The 17 is like, hey, they're going to hold the high side. And then Fitzpatrick was like, you know what? I'm going to hold my middle of the track lane. And they just wash up into each other. It's just a simple racing incident, and it's going to take the 17 out. He's already hit the tow button there, so he's going to be backing out, and a lot of damage to that car there.
Yeah,
Fitzpatrick.
let's see. I want to see real quick, Dustin, if we can get a replay from maybe the 17's angle Porter view here for maybe a third-person shot. Because remember, Jeremy, this track here at Kentucky has plagued a lot of drivers going through the tri-oval. Because remember, that yellow line kind of awkwardly comes up in about the middle portion of the racetrack. And then all of a sudden it narrows up going into turn one. So the 17 tried to get the better arc, probably thought that the machine there was going to go up further on the top side. That would be the number 12 machine, obviously, of Rob Fitzpatrick Sr. This is what I'm talking about. Look right there. See how it just abruptly comes up? He was trying to come back up. I think Robert Fitzpatrick thought the 17 was going to stay down there. But again, you have to come back up and be mindful of the drivers around you. Honestly, at the end of the day, Jeremy, like we talked about, just a racing incident.
Yeah, I've always been curious since they did the reconfiguration here.
I never understood it.
Yeah, like, it's such a simple, long, sweeping front straightaway. Why throw a joker lap of a line in there where it just, goes from a nice, simple curve, then straightens out, and then sharpens up, and just really throws off people's marks? And that's exactly what happened there in that wreck. I mean, I've seen that plenty of times, like I said, in the tri-oval, but at Kentucky, it's amplified the way that line's painted.
It's really awkward. And you know what the thing is, Jeremy, is I didn't notice that until NASCAR Heat Evolution came out. And I know, probably arguably one of the worst NASCAR games ever made. But I noticed that one day when I was league racing, or when the game came out, me and a bunch of my old buddies, we were testing out the different racetracks, how they race with the new car, the new physics. And one of them pointed out and said, did anybody ever notice that Kentucky's double or the yellow line kind of comes up? And I was like, surely that's got to be an issue with the game developers, or certainly that's not real. But then you watch a few races, they go to the race weekend, you see other drivers race on it, you see old clips and stuff like that, and you're like, what do you know, it is like that. So it's a really awkward kind of thing too. And Jeremy, the thing is too, and obviously it's not a problem here on the sim, but remember, there's a drain cover that's down there through the tri-oval when the line starts to come back up. There's a few drivers who I can think about that have hit that line. You think about Noah Gragson in the Truck Series here a few years ago. He hit that one, I believe went for a spin. Ryan Blaney going for the win back in 2021. That's one of the many drain covers right there. I believe there's another one going down into turn one, possibly. There it is right there. There might even be another one here. Dustin's giving me everything that I want to see, but I believe it